Okay, you're welcome to today's tutorial. As I said before, now I fixed this to create a platform opportunity to help students, especially those that believe that the more you study, the more you know that you don't know, and the more you want to do what? Know. And apart from that, in a standard academic environment or institution, there is tutorials and there is normal class. Because we have a scheme to cover, you realize that the lecturer or the tutor may not actually attend to every question. Because if you continue answering every question, what it means is that he or she may remain in one topic throughout the semester. So, and also people understanding, rate of understanding are not the same. So some understand very fast, some we need to put extra effort to do so. So because of these individual differences, this platform, I created this platform to be able to help us have a proper understanding, a deeper understanding on what we are doing. So here, feel free, ask any question you want to ask. No matter how stupid it may sound, ask it. That's why we are here. So I'm just trying to introduce to you what we are doing so that you understand exactly why you are here, why you left your hostess and came here by this time of the night. So what we are going to do today, we are going to start with pharmaceutical calculations. As I said before, it's not your regular class. You bring the question, at least you know the topics we've covered. We'll start from the topics we've covered. If you have any question, bring it up, let us solve it. If you have any question, you bring it up, we'll solve it. At least before 11 o'clock, we would have covered a lot. All those things, questions you come to me individually to ask, this is the time. Feel free. Ask it, let's solve it. Where are those questions? Where are they? Feel free. Anyway, feel free.
It said if 0 point under...
Which topic? Ratio and proportion.
Yes.
Okay.
It said if 0.5 mil...
If what?
0.5 mil of a mock virus vaccine contains 5,000 units of antigen. How many units will be present in each milliliter? If 0.5 mil of vaccine was diluted 2 mil with water for injection.
Bring the question here. Okay, the question says if 0.5 ml of a mumps virus vaccine contains 5,000 units of antigen, how many units would be present in each milliliter if 0.5 ml of the vaccine was diluted to 2 ml with water for injection? Okay, this is question under which topic? Ratio and what? Proportion. Okay, the question, let's go back to the question again. If 0.5 ml of a mumps virus vaccine contains 5,000 units of what? Antigen. So how many units of antigen will be present in each ml if 0.5 ml of the vaccine was diluted to 2 ml with water for injection? Now, the initial volume of the mumps virus vaccine, are we together?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. The initial volume of the mumps vaccine, 0.5 ml, contains 5,000 units of antigen. Then I want us to find out how many units will be present in each ml if the 0.5 ml of vaccine was diluted to 2 ml with water for what? Injection. .5 ml initially contains 5,000 what? Units. So now, how many will be present in each ml if 0.5 ml of the vaccine was diluted to 2 ml with water for injection? Now, let me ask a very important question. Let me ask a very important question. 0.5 ml. 0.5 ml of mumps virus vaccine contains 5,000 units. Now, nothing was added again, but they just diluted it to 2 ml. Do you think it will change the units of the antigen there in the 0.5 ml? Do you think it will change it? 0.5 ml. 0.5 ml. 0.5 ml. 0.5 ml contains 5,000 watts. Unit of what? Antigen. You then dilute this. What do you do to this to dilute it to 2 ml? How many do you think was added? Okay, good. You diluted this now to 2 ml. Do you think it will change this thing? It will change the units. Do you think, okay, how many units do you now think will be in 2 ml?
20,000 units.
Is that the answer?
I don't know.
You are told that 0.5 ml of a mumps virus vaccine contains 5,000 units of antigen. How many units will be present in each ml if the 0.5 ml vaccine was diluted to 2 ml with water for injection? Forget about in each ml. Now let us consider this now. 0.5 ml contain this thing, and it was diluted to 2 ml. Do you think it will change this thing? The antigen there? No. It won't change it. The antigen is still there. The quantity of antigen there is still there. It will change it. It will change it. You see how 2 ml will still contain what? 5,000 units of what? Antigen. That 2 ml will still contain 5,000 units of antigen. So if that 2 ml still contain 5,000 units of antigen, how many units of antigen will now be in 1 ml? How many will now be in 1 ml? So 1 ml is to what? 2 ml is to what? Are you there? As 5,000 watts is to what? We don't know. So we have 2 mil over what? Is equal to what? 5,000 units over what? X. X is now what? 1 mil times what? 5,000 what? Units. Over what? 2 mil. Which mil cancel what? Mil. You now have what? 5,000 units divided by 2 is what? Huh? No, we can't correct it. Pattern has changed, so no correction. Some people have not written down quiz. Do you solve this? What do you get? 20,000. But there's no answer now, Shay. You don't know. You. What's the answer now?
I will go 20,000.
Did you search for the correct answer? What is the answer?
25 units.
But do not say know how we rectify. See, that question is just there to they just how do I put it now? I just boil out your brain. Maybe too, so that I think there was a group of, is it your class? Okay, those that I thought came 122 practical, those that attended that practical class before they risked exam. I taught them this thing. I taught them something that has to do with maybe if you like now I told them that if what you put, let's say, amount of a solute, or yes, let me use a solute now, in a solution does not change. If you like, put 1 million ml of solvent in that amount of solute there will not change. It's constant because why? Because you didn't add or remove the word solute. So in that 0.5 ml of this vaccine, that 0.5 ml contains 5,000 units of the antigen. If you like, pour 20 ml of water in that, it will change. That 20 ml of water will still contain the same 5,000 units of what? The antigen. So they say that it was diluted to 2 ml. Fine. It's from this 2 and now. That 2 ml will still contain the same what? 5,000 what? Units. So now what will 1 ml contain? So you now find for 1 ml and get 2,500 units. Any other question? Bring it on. Okay. Next question. Hello, one house, please. A physician prescribed nomestacin. A physician prescribed nomestacin furoate monohydrates, brand name Nasonex, nasal spray for a patient, with directions to administer 2 sprays into each nostril once daily. If each spray contains 50, is this microgram or milligram? If each spray contains, what's this?
Microgram.
Okay, 50 microgram of drug, and the container can deliver a total of 120 sprays, how many micrograms of drug would the patient receive daily? And how many days of use will the prescription last the patient? How many days of use will the prescription last for the patient? Okay. A physician prescribed normetazine furoate monohydrate, Nasonex nasal spray. The dosage form is nasal what? Spray. But it contains normetazine furoate monohydrate, Nasonex. Now, the direction given to administer 2 sprays into each nostril once what? Daily. So 2 sprays into what? Each nostril. This one, 2 spray once daily. If each spray contains 50 microgram of drug, and the container can deliver a total of 120 sprays. So the container, what you have, the total spray that the container can deliver is 120 what? Spray. But the patient direction is to put what? 2 sprays in each of the what? Nostrils per day. That means the patient we have a total of 4 sprays per day. Remember, a spray contains what? Delivers what? 50 microgram of the what? Drug. They don't want to know how many microgram of drug will the patient receive daily. So a day, the patient we have 2 sprays in each of the nostrils, right? So 4 sprays a what? A day, right? 2 here, right? A day. And each spray is 50 what? Microgram. So for a day, how many microgram of the drug will the patient use? 200 microgram per day, right? Good. Then I want to know how many days of use will the prescription last the patient. A day is 4 sprays. There are 120 sprays in the container. So if a day is 4 sprays and there are 120 sprays in a container. So if you want to know how many days, this thing you don't really need, but let me just set the proportion for. Okay, now if we have 20 1 day, right? How many spray? 1 day what? 4 what? Sprays, right? Then we don't know the number of days that 120 sprays will do what? Serve, right? So that means you can set the proportion. If 4 days, 4 sprays is to what? 120 what? Sprays. As what? 1 day is to what? X. So 4 sprays over what? 120 what? Sprays is equal to what? 1 day over what? X. You cross multiply. X is now equal to what? 120 sprays times 1 day. All over what? 4 sprays. So spray cancel sprays. You have what? 120 divided by 4. We have what? 30 what? Days. So the container will last for 30 days, 1 month, right? The container will last for the patient for 30 days. Yeah, but for a day, there are 4 sprays in a day, right? And a spray is how many microgram? 50 microgram, right? So that means 4 sprays will now be what? We don't know. We can set a proportion on this one, right? And have what? I'm just going back. You know, I just did it without solving it, but I remember that some people may not follow. That's why I'm going back to solve that A part, okay? So if you set proportion now, you have what? That's 1 spray is to what? 4 sprays as 50 microgram is to what? X. That means 1 spray over what? 4 sprays is equal to what? 50 microgram over what? X. You can multiply X is now equal to what? 4 sprays times 50 microgram all over what? 1 spray. Spray cancel spray. 4 times 50 microgram is what? 200 what? Microgram. So for a day, 200 microgram of the drug is needed. Then, yeah.
You can look for that for like 120 space, like times 50. You get 6,000. Like 6,000.
Say what? Ask your question.
I'm saying
Okay.
that 120 sprays, you can get like by pricing it to 50 microgram, you get 6,000. And divide it by that 200 microgram. It's 30 days. You just have to.
Okay, you mean using microgram? You still get the same answer. But sometimes in this calculation, try to avoid bogus number because any mistake you make there, and you know that this thing is what OBJ. Not in OBJ, basically subjective. So you may trying to, you will not have that kind of time to be working with big numbers. You know, this one is simple. Go straight to the point. Forget converting it to watts, because what you did there, you converted the spray to microgram. So you are just it's a kind of merry-go-round. If you go there, you see the watts come back, but it's not wrong anyway. But I'm just trying to look for what, be smart in your calculations. I had to be smart in your what calculations, so that anything that will, because you may be there trying to multiply it to get 6,000. Because you are in haste, you are trying to beat time. You may end up using 600 microgram without even knowing. It happens, and it happened to some people in your previous quiz. So try to avoid unnecessary building up unnecessary what numbers that will lead to what mistakes. Any other question? Bring it on. Okay, there's another question here from Mason. The question says, an elixir of ferrous sulfate, contains 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate in each ml. If each milligram of ferrous sulfate contains the equivalent of 0.2 milligram of elemental iron, how many milligrams of elemental iron would be represented in each 5 ml of the what? Elixir. Hello? Please, let's focus, please. The dosage form is elixir. The active ingredient is ferrous sulfate. Inside that ferrous sulfate, you know, these hematinics, like this ferrous sulfate, and other sort of iron used as hematotenic for blood for pregnant women and those that are having iron deficiency, anemia. Am I communicating? Now, they also calculate the amount of elemental iron as element itself in the drug. Am I communicating? I want to give you assignment, try to go to, it's an assignment, you can even go to the maternity ward here, the maternity pharmacy in the maternity building here. Go there, ask the IT student, please, I want to see the ferrous sulfate here. If you look at the ferrous sulfate, look at the tin, the tablet there, look at the tin, look at the label, you see, they will tell you that it contains ferrous sulfate, blah, blah, blah. They'll tell you the amount of elemental iron it contains. Are you there? This is what actually shows. They might write ferrous sulfate 200 milligram or 300 milligram, as case may be. But the amount of, what matters is the amount of the elemental iron in that dosage form. Am I communicating? So I just want to use the opportunity to explain this to you so that you understand what the question is all about. Now, first of all, there are three things you consider in this question. You point out in this question. First, it is that the dosage form is elixir, liquid dosage form. Come down now. It has ferrous sulfate. You also consider the elemental iron there. Now let us now dissect the question properly. An elixir of ferrous sulfate contains 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate in each 5 ml. So 5 ml. 5 ml contains 5 ml of the elixir. 5 ml of what? The elixir contains 220 mg of ferrous sulfate. Now let's go back to the question. Now, if each milligram of ferrous sulfate contains the equivalent of 0.2 milligram of elemental iron. So each milligram, that is 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate, contains 0.2 milligram of elemental iron. 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate contain the equivalent of 0.2 milligram of elemental iron. Ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate is the name, but there are just brand name. They call it. There's a brand they call Fesolate. It's a brand name, but the name of the name there is the generic name is ferrous sulfate. It's a popular brand. So they don't call it Fesolate, but other companies have their own name. But it's just as I told you some time ago about innovative brand, and there's some brand that have taken over the market. So that company called their own Fesolate. So Fesolate took the name, but the giving them is ferrous sulfate. Am I communicating? Okay. Now, they now say how many milligrams of elemental iron will be represented in each 5 ml of the elixir. So now let's go back here. With dimensional analysis, you can put all this in straight. But let me not stress you on that. Now, see this question I have dissected the question into 2 parts now. First of all, you are told that 5 ml of the elixir contains 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate. Then 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate contains 0.2 milligram of what? Then I want you to tell them how many of this elemental ion will be in 5 mil of what? The elixir. So what the first to do is this. We will use this 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate and 0.2 milligram of what? Elemental ion, and set a proportion with 220 milligram of what? Ferrous sulfate, and find elemental ion in what? Of the ferrous sulfate. When we are done with that, we will now come here and set a proportion with what? Elixir, and get our answer. So we have two proportions here we will set here. Am I communicating?
No.
Okay. What is the issue? From where? If 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate contains 0.2, do you know what is elemental ion? That is the origin of your problem. Elemental ion is ion, 20 elements. It's ion. Don't you know what is Fe? It's ion, 20 elements. Is it okay? Is ion one of the first 20 elements? It's not, sure. Just elemental. Ion as element. In this, what 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate. Ferrous is ion. Is a sort of ion. It's not true. So then now 1 milligram of that ferrous sulfate is equivalent to 0.2 milligram of what? Ion as element. Now, if 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate is equivalent to 0.2 milligram of what? Elemental ion. Now, what elemental ion will be found in will be equivalent to 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate. That's why I say you set a proportion with it. So here now, then 220 milligram of what? Ferrous what? Sulfate will now be equivalent to what? We don't know. We find out X. So that's why I said that you use these two things to set a proportion with this 220 milligram. That's the proportion we are setting now. So in that case now, 1 milligram of ferrous sulfate is equivalent to what? 220 milligram of what? Ferrous sulfate. There's 120 milligram of this is to this. Why 0.2 milligram of what? Is to what? So 1 milligram over 220 milligram is equal to what? 0.2 milligram over what? X. You find out X. X is now what? 220 milligram times what? 0.2 milligram over what? 1 milligram plus 1 milligram. 220 times 0.2 is what? 44 milligram of what? Elemental ion. So what it means is that 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate is equivalent to or has what? 44 milligram of what? Elemental what? Ion. Answer. Yes, about go.
What of this 5 mil? That 5 mil does that. It does
No, look, the question says how many. The question says how many milligram of elemental ion will be represented in each 5 mil of the elixir. 5 mil of elixir contains 220 milligram of what? Ferrous sulfate. So if 5 mil of the elixir contains 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate, and 220 milligram of ferrous sulfate contains what? 44 milligram of elemental ion. So 5 mil of elixir will now contain how many milligram of the elemental ion? 44 milligram. So 5 mil. So the answer is now. The answer is now 44 milligram of elemental ion will be represented in each 5 mil of the what? Elixir. That's the answer. Any question? Any confusion? Any confusion? Okay, we have another question here. Another question from Chioma. The question says, an injection contains 3 milligrams of medication in each meal. If a physician prescribes a dose of 0.5 milligram to be administered to a hospital patient 3 times daily, how many meals of injections will be required over a 5-day period? An injection. One house, please. See, these things we are solving, they are not just ratio and proportion. If you watch, the questions there are, most of the question has to do with posology. Because they are denominate numbers. But you apply ratio and proportion to solve them. But they are actually, if you can solve all these questions, we will not even waste our time again in what? Posology. When we do posology, we just mention it, blah, 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 blah. No, because you would have solved all the questions in what? Posology. So please, I want you to listen carefully. Listen carefully. This is not your regular class. If you miss it in this one now, you have missed it. Just go and prepare for receipt. If you miss it in this one now, you have missed it. There's no need. So put everything you got in this one now. Please. It's not a time for chatting. Now, let us now dissect the questions. Let's go back to the question again. It says, an injection contains 3 milligrams of medication in each meal. Now, let us start putting down the parameters. An injection contains 3 milligrams of medication. You know, the injection is the present, how the liquid dosage form was presented, right? As injection. Now, but it contains 3 milligrams of medication in each meal. So one meal of what? The what? Injection contains 3 milligrams of the what? Of the what? Medication. Now let's continue. Next one, it says, if a physician prescribes a dose of 0.5 milligram to be administered to a hospital patient 3 times daily. Now the prescription says to administer 0.5 milligram TDS, right? TDS. So is administer 0. What? Injection. They didn't mention the medication. You can call it what? X, right? 0.5 milligram what? TDS. How many meals of injection will be required over a 5-day period? So for 5 days, TDS times what? This is the prescription from the doctor. Injection X. They didn't mention the medication, so we call it X. No. QDS is 4 times in a day. So if you want to time it now, it's every 6 hours. Because in a day, 24 hours in a day divided by 4 is 6 hours. But this TDS is 3 times a day or every 8 hours. Because 24 divided by 3 is 8. So 8 hours, every 8 hours. But if it is antibiotic or any drug that has to do with fights infection, it's better you give it hourly. Maintain the timing. Are you there? Maintain the timing, because it will help to curtail the microbial growth. Be it either malaria, any anti-infectives, it's good to give it with time. If you see TDS, don't just give it any time. Maintain that 8-hour interval, 12 hours interval. If it's to be given 2 times a day. I've answered your question, but they didn't mention the type of. They just said medication. So that's what we call it X. So injection X, 0.5 milligram TDS for 5 days. Now they want us to. But 1 ml of the injection contains 3 milligram of the what? Medication. Now for us to know how many ml that will need to be injected over for 5 days, let us now calculate how many milligram that will be injected for 5 days. If we do that, we now use whatever any answer we get here to set a proportion with this one and find the male. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? As you are in that 1 ml of the injection contains 3 milligram of the what? Medication. Injection in bottle. The liquid, small liquid in the bottle, but the injection itself. Inside that injection, that dosage form, there is active ingredient, which is the medication. They didn't mention it. We call it X. That 1 ml of that liquid injection contains 3 milligram of the what? Active ingredients. As the doctor prescribed that 0.5 milligram should be what? Injected 3 times a day for 5 days. Now, how many ml will be injected for that 5 days? How do we now know that? We know that by what? We can actually get here now, use this 0.5 milligram. Okay, now how many milligram of X do you think should be injected for 5 days? Tell me. Tell me. No. Leave it. What's the problem? See what they're saying.
I understand.
Who is see what?
What's your question?
All right.
How many what?
I asked. This is the prescription for a doctor. Injection X, 0.5 milligram TDS for 5 days. Now, how many milligram of this X now will be administered for these 5 days?
3 times 5.
3 times what? 5.
15.
No. Okay. For you to get this, first of all, you should check for a day. A day is how many milligram? 0.5 milligram times what? 3, because it will be administered 3 times a day, right? So 1.5 milligram a day. So for 5 days, how many milligram? 1.5 milligram times 5. It becomes how many?
10.5.
So for 5 days, 7.5 what? Milligram of X should be administered for 5 days. Now, so for that 5-day duration, 7.5 milligram of X will be what? Administered. So if 7.5 milligram of X will be administered for 5 days, how many ml is needed to deliver this 7.5 milligram? If 1 ml contains 3 milligram, how many ml will contain 7.5 milligram? We find that ml. It will give us how many ml that is needed for the what? 5 what? Days. So if 1 ml is what? 3 what? Milligram, right? Then X, beginning 7.5 what? Milligram. That means that 1 ml is to what? X. As 3 milligram is to what? 7.5 what? Milligram. So that means 1 ml over X is equal to what? 3 milligram over what? What?
Times 3 and that 5 days.
You say what? What if we do what?
0.5 times 3 days of 3. Times 5.
Is that not what we did here? This is exactly what we did here now. We did 0.5 milligram times 3. I initially did just straight, but some of you are doing as if you will not follow it. That was why I now say for 1 day is now what? 1.5. Then 5 days is now what? 7.5 milligram. One what? 1,000 milligram makes 1 mil. Main value of what? No, don't go there. Don't go there. Okay? That thing doesn't hold for. That thing holds for only water. Please, okay? Okay? That 1 milligram, 1 mil holds for only water, not any solvent you see. Okay? Did you understand this prescription? That a doctor wrote a prescription that said that injection drug S. This is drug S. We don't know the name. 0.5 milligram for 3 days, 3 times a day, TDS. Do you know what is TDS? 3 times a day for 5 days. So if the is to be administered 0.5 milligram 3 times a day for 5 days, how many milligram will be administered for that 5 days? From here now, a day should be how many milligram? Allow her, please. A day should be how many milligram? .5 milligram should be administered 3 times a day. So how many milligram will be administered in a day? Keep quiet. Answer. 1.2. I don't understand. You are with a calculator in your hand. Give her that calculator. On your press. For a day. 1.5. What did you press? Times 3 for a day. Then for 5 days, was on there. Ndị nkuzi when did oh yeah. Did you understand what you just did now? Either place. Also, this is the dosage from injection. This is the drug. They didn't mention the drug. They just said medication, right? Injection. So we call it X. Now they said that they should inject 0.5 milligram of this drug S 3 times daily for 5 days. Now a day If you are injecting 0.5 milligram 3 times daily for 5 days, how many milligram will be injected for these 5 days? You check how many milligram that will be injected for a day. If 0.5 milligram is to be injected 3 times a day, so how many milligram will be injected in a day? Keep quiet, please. 1.5 is for how many days?
For 3 days. For 1 day.
For 1 day. Then how many will be injected for 5 days?
7.5.
7.5. Have you not seen where 7.5 came from? Don't go back to Egypt again. Stay here. All right. Now, if 7.5 milligram of the drug or the medication is administered for like 5 days, but you remember this is an injection. It's a liquid dosage form. It's not a solid dosage form. Now, how many ml of that injection will deliver this 7.5 milligram? How do we now know how many ml that will deliver it? They have already told us for the beginning of the question that 1 ml of the injection contains 3 milligram. So that means 1 ml of the injection will deliver 3 milligram. So how many ml will deliver 7.5 milligram? That's what we did here. If this 1 ml for 1 ml is 3 milligram, X ml will deliver 7.5 milligram. We now set the proportion. 1 ml is to what? X, as 3 milligram is to what? 7 milligram. 1 ml over X is equal to what? 3 milligram over what? 7.5 milligram. We find X is now equal to what? 1 ml times what? You cross multiply. This times this. This is equal to this times this over this one. Is it clear? Or let me solve it like JS16. X is equal to S. So if you cross multiply, you now have 1 ml times what? This times this. Look at me. This times this is 7 point what? Is equal to what? X times what? Is it clear? You divide both sides by what? 3. Or yeah? By what? 3 milligram. So X is now equal to what? 1 ml times what? 7.5 milligram over what? 3 milligram. Milligram will cancel milligram. 7.5 divided by 3 is what? 2.5. So X is now what? So the answer to this question is 2.5 mils of the injection will be required over a 5-day what? Period. Any question? Any confusion?
But you can use the measurement method to do that.
You can. Feel free. You can. Now, if you want to, remember, if you want, you can also solve this thing. Hello, look up. If you want, since they have told you that 1 milligram, that 1 ml contains 3 milligram. If you want, you can take how many ml that will have 0.5 milligram. Hope you know. So if 1 ml is 3 milligram, how many ml will be 0.5 milligram? If you don't have that ml, you multiply by 3 and 5 and get your answer. Hope you know. You can also do that.
Number 6.
Wait, they are not finished.